Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
The thing that is most misunderstood about sports radio is its function. It's not that you're supposed to look. There are shifts, there are day parts where if you want to get into the minutia, if you want to talk about cycling and what they do on special teams and all the other things that go into it, all the details that go into being an NHL team, there are shifts for that. There are hours of that. That's not what a morning show does. That's what a morning show isn't supposed to. I'm supposed to call someone or bring the coach on who will explain those moves. I bring the general manager on. I can bring on one of the players. This is what hosting a morning show does. I'm hard-pressed to think that going to work for a job that you hate, for a boss who sucks, for you getting yelled at every day and maybe not getting the money that's worth it to you. Maybe you have a hard day where you're outside every day. Hey, there's a lot of people in Western Canada that listen to that show that weren't just from Calgary. They were also from Saskatchewan. And you know, these guys would be out working the fields and so on. They wanted to get some laughs in with a little bit of the sports. So what you want to do is be an entertaining guy, and hopefully you have the chops to actually do that. And then on the other side, you call someone who can explain all those things better than I can, better than any probably morning guy can, because there's a reason why they're a morning guy, because they were probably, for the most part, in broadcast and maybe not a great athlete. Look, my background is weird. It's different. I played at a very high level of sports, but I also started doing stand-up when I was in grade 12. Freak and weird. I was a goalie and a drummer. All the weird stuff that goes into this brain where I hear the voices. I'm sitting there looking at a football game. All of a sudden, I hear Peyton Manning going, what he should have done. What he should have done was you got to pull that back. You got to make them read into when you're going to play action pass. You don't just run with it, dummy. That's not RPO. This is what goes on in his head. This is what I have going on. Bob Cole,
I get it.
All kinds of stuff is going on there.
I don't even think it's weird.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
can't remember my roommate's name, but we couldn't get into our room, and two exotic dancers came down the hallway and said, "Here you go. Let us give you a hand with that."
how about that?
I was 16. It was like, whoa. Mandy at Edmonton has checked in, by the way. She says, flashback. I did find glitter around an ex's house all the way into the bedroom. Now you know. No charge.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
All these stories just came flooding into my head. Thanks a lot, Jordan, for the memories of that. Oh, trying to forget. Welcome, everybody, to your favorite daytime sports talk show. Boy, are we coming in hot. Episode number 1164 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Let's bring in the Moose, Darren Moose DuPont. We've got a lot of things to get to. Hey, Moose, hey. How are you doing, man? Give me a quick update on your life.
I was wondering how what's on the mind of the boys this morning, picking that intro on a Tuesday. But no, I was in Tisdale yesterday, as you mentioned. I made my way to Wynyard, to Mom and Dad's place, so we're hanging out here for the week, and then off to Saskatoon for the men's curling tankard next week.
The chicken capital is where he's at. Listen, here's the story that popped into my head. What you do, not everybody knows that not only am I a certified mental health and addiction recovery coach in sports and entertainment, but I also work with the military. So I walked into this gigantic ops room one time with a commanding officer, and all these guys were on computers, typing away, but they're all in their army fatigues. And I said, what's going on here? And he goes, we're doing a simulated invasion. Sounded, like a big video game, right? They were practicing for the event that they needed to take over a country. And they said, we're calling it Operation Anastasia. And I'm like, oh. He's like, what about what? I said, I knew a stripper in Vancouver named Anastasia. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, from time to time, my misspent youth comes back to haunt me. And the commanding officer said, if that's how you spent your youth, you didn't misspend it. How about that? You got a sound effect for that one, Producer Clark? Yeah. And furthermore, Listen, can you hit the quick six show horn? Can you hit the horn, please? You should have seen the look on his face. You should have seen the look on that guy's face when I said he was smiling with a twinkle in his eye. And then this morning I told you I was at Johnny O's working out. Serena was coaching a class. And the girl at the front, Emmy, she goes, it's just so nice that you come and take these classes and support Serena. I said, are you kidding me? She'd kick my ass if I didn't. But we're standing there talking before the class began, and there was a young lady wearing a jacket with a Leafs logo on it. And Johnny O goes, are you a big hockey fan? Are you a big Leafs fan? And she goes, no, my dad played for the Leafs. And we're like, whoa, of course, Serena, very excited. She's like, who's your dad? And she goes, Mike Palmateer. We're like, and Johnny looks at us like, you know him? And I said, well, I don't know him. I know of him. He was my second favorite goalie of all time. Well, at that era, behind Ken Dryden. And I said, I used to have the old white Cooper all-white mask like Jason in Halloween, and I painted, or with a marker, put on blue Leafs on it because of Mike Palmateer. Worked out with his daughter this morning, Tess. As it turns out, she's moving away in a couple weeks to work for the New York Mets. But it's been a very interesting day today. Already. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please?
Unreal.
Again, Jordan. I know you did. I know you did once.
LFG.
But we're going to do it again. We got breaking news to get to, but you're just going to have to wait for that. Number one, the Vancouver Canucks, with goals from Pius Suter and Quinn Hughes, defeated the visiting Chicago Blackhawks 2-0 Monday night to boost their win streak to 3 games. Many fans were disappointed. All-star rookie Connor Bedard, who grew up in North Vancouver, was not in the Hawks lineup as he recovers from a fractured jaw, but they've only known that for a month, so get over it. And Charlie Coyle's goal at 18:26 of the first period stood up as the winner as the Boston Bruins beat the visiting Winnipeg Jets 4-1 in a battle of NHL division leaders last night. Jacob Loco, Jake DeBrusk, and Brad Marchand also scored for the Bruins, who boosted their win streak to 5. Vladislav Nemestikov scored for the Jets, who had their 2-game win streak halted. It's the first time, I think we all know, they've given up more than 3 goals in, 33 games, 35 games. Doesn't matter. They're starting over. And I don't know what your hockey, or maybe your focus was on hockey at all last night, Moose. That's why we bring you on here to talk about it. But I watched the first period of that game before flipping over to the Panthers, who incidentally won last night in Nashville. But I'm like, hey, the Jets have met their match here. I think it was 2:20 into the game, Boston scored, and not long after that, the Jets responded. But Rick Bowness said it's the worst game we played in a long time. I think it was Kyle Connor said we were timid out there, which is not a horrible thing, folks. I think we need to explain to people they weren't their normal aggressive selves. They didn't push the pace. They allowed the Boston Bruins to dictate the game last night. It's not the end of the world. But they didn't play well. So it was a bit of a punch to the jaw, for the Jets. Wake them up a little bit, and these are good things. That's what I saw from last night. What was your takeaways? What's your NHL leftovers from Monday night?
Yeah, I was watching that game too, and I think that's a great way to put it. Timid, and on your heels a little bit when you're playing so well, and then you step in to play the Boston Bruins, one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, with you. But you kind of like, okay, new territory, right? It's like any new place you show up. You kind of look around for a little bit. You kind of feel it out. You don't just jump in and, play like you know what's going on. You kind of feel it out. And when you're on your heels a little bit, Boston never has that. They just come at you all game long. And they did that. There was a stretch in the second period where, I thought that Winnipeg had an opportunity. They were piling up the shots. The offensive zone time was growing, but they just couldn't score. And that was their chance. But, Boston's a good team. There's no shame in losing to them. Use it as a learning experience and move on.
Yeah, and by the way, I had a message from a Jets fan watching the show on Game Plus. It was one of those accounts like your parents used to have, Clark. It was the couples account, It was Patricia and Michael, blah, 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 blah.
Damn.
Your parents don't still do that, though, right, Clark? They split it up.
Oh, no.
They got normal. So I don't know if it was the husband or the wife, but they wrote me and said, hey, Rod, sitting here watching your show on Game Plus TV right now, and just for Winnipeg, we are trying to stay humble. Just allow us the moment, because we do have a great team. It hasn't happened often or for a long time. And also, we're used to getting the shaft and not getting any credit. right? So that was my whole thing. And I appreciate them writing me. And I want to tell the viewers this and the listeners as well. And you know this well, Darren. You've known me a long time. You can write me, but I'm probably not going to write you back now. Because I used to. When I was voice of the Riders for 20 years, I would write everybody back. Because that's the way I was raised. You know what it did? It freaking near put me in the loony bin. And where did it get me? So, no, you can write me, but don't expect a response. I may acknowledge it on the air. And, hey, we want you to text into the show during the show, but if it's outside the hours, don't expect a response. Moving on to point 2. I have a tantalizing trivia question that's going to have to wait until later in the week. We're splitting point 2 into 2 things, Darren. NFL Final Four, who you cheering for the rest of the way? Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, or San Francisco? That'll be a poll question later in the week. But the odds are up from our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal, and the Kansas City Chiefs are the underdogs. This shouldn't surprise anybody at Baltimore by 3.5 points. And the San Francisco 49ers are favored at home over Detroit at 7-0. I'll quickly say, spoiler alert, Detroit's who I'm cheering for. Like everybody else, I think. That's not a 49er, Ravens, or Chief fan. Who are you cheering for?
Yeah, it's the Detroit Lions. You know, they're the great story. They're the best story left of the 4 teams. So, yeah, my support is behind Detroit, which means they're probably going to lose, but whatever.
902-518-3033 is the number to text us here in the studio for Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for them by name at your local beer, wine, and spirit store. 902-518-3033. Rhonda writes in Swift Current and says, hey, did you mention to Nick about Perry signing with the Oilers? I bet she's impressed. Okay, this is an inside message. Serena's nickname in Swift Current is Nick. Don't get me started. Yes, Rhonda, she's not impressed that the Oilers signed her player. She hates him. But hang on. Why did I go off the road? Let's bring it back on the road. So the actual poll questions come from producer Clark. It's regarding the NHL All-Star Game. And if you've noticed, I have a lot of NHL All-Star gear because it was here in Sunrise last year, Darren. I didn't go drop a lot of cash on it, just so you know. They way over-ordered. So they've had gear like 20%, then 40%, then 50%, then 70% off, all the All-Stars. I've been buying it all this year. I've got everything they bought in my size, and I quite like it. I'm interested to see what they have in Toronto this year, and hopefully you can get some. But they announced on, was it Saturday night, Clark, the celebrity captains for the All-Star game. And I don't feel like we had celebrity captains here last year. But whatever.
First year that the draft is back.
The draft is back. Yeah, it's not like they did everything right last year. Even McDavid made a joke about shooting pucks at surfboards and taking wrist shots out on the friggin' golf course. But here are your celebrities. And it's our poll question today for our friends at Key Auto Group. At Key Auto Group, we're driven by safety, experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for automotive excellence. Who's the best? Who's your favorite all-star celebrity captain? Will Arnett, who I couldn't pick out of a police lineup. Full disclosure. But that's a me thing. Not anybody's fault. Thank you for the thing. Darren's like, once you see his photo, you'll recognize him. Nope. Still nope. Justin Bieber, whom we all know, and I am a fan of the Biebs. And I can tell you why in a minute if you want. Tate McRae, again, lineup, me, not happening, can't. And, of course, Michael Bubbly Bublé. And he's got my vote. I love his music. I love him. I've never met him, but I think he's cool. He's a part owner of the Vancouver Giants, and that's enough for me. Ho, ho, ho. Michael Bubbly Bublé. And the commercials are funny, too, Darren. You don't see them here in the States. He's knocking on the door. I have the bubbly. Can I get some bubbly? No, it's Bublé. Bubbly Bubbly. It's funny. So he's my guy. Who's yours?
It's Michael Bublé too. I mean, he's funny.
Good.
You're right. He's Canadian. The music is great. You know, it's hard not to consider Tate McRae though, but that would just be a distraction you don't need in the game. And Bublé would be fun. So give me Michael Bublé.
Did Tate McRae sing the national anthem at the MLB All-Star game in LA a couple years ago? Was that the same person? Was that Tate McRae? Again, what did I say to Darren before the show? Nobody knows, but our crew was watching. I said, I'm like Lou Brown in Major League. I'm too old to go diving into lockers. I'm not going to go look these people up. I have my favorites. So I'm going to vote for who I know.
We know about
Michael Bublé? What?
Yeah. The only thing we know about Tate McRae is Clark informs us she dated Cole Sillinger. So that's our biggest claim to fame.
Who didn't? Moving on to point 3, I'll spend some time on this because we'll get to that breaking CFL news because there is a lot today. So everybody just sit down. It's a 2-hour show, man. We're not going to get it all in one spot. Just hang on. The Alberta Junior Hockey League has denied kicking the 4 teams out. I'm trying to get my mind around what's gone on here with 5 teams defecting from the Alberta Junior Hockey League to the rival BC Hockey League as you are looking at it. And I called a mentor of mine. You know who he is. And anybody who knows me wouldn't have to think too hard to guess who it was that I called. And he would know the ins and outs of all of this. And he said, well, a lot of it is PR. A lot of it's PR. The campaigning for the BC Hockey League and these 5 AJHL teams to get the best players to recruit. PR. I get it. Been around that forever. Right? Major Junior versus Junior A. Throw the college in there. What's best for my kid? I don't know. That's why we hire advisors and pay them $2,000 to help tell us. They don't know. So that's 1, PR. And then 2, they don't like Hockey Canada's rules. And one of the biggest one is, if you're 16 years of age, you can't play Junior A hockey outside your own province. Why did Hockey Canada put that in? Because they didn't want 16-year-olds moving halfway across the country. They did it for the right reason. But there are those that say my kid is mature enough and good enough. Shoot, Bedard did it at 15 in the WHL, right? So they feel that they should have the right to make that choice. So there's that. And I don't think Hockey Canada is softening its guns or backing off, Darren, just so you know. They don't do that, usually. They've been doing enough of that the last couple of years. They don't need to do more. So this is where we're at. And figures were thrown out of 7-figure expansion fees for these 5 teams to go into the BC Hockey. Let me say that again. 7-figure expansion fees to get into the BC Hockey League. So when people say money is part of this, we all knew that it would be. So does that sort it out a little more for you? Does it make a little more? This guy wasn't for it or against it. He's like, these are just some of the reasons why they're doing it. Fair?
Yeah, it's fair. You can understand why they're doing it. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You can agree or disagree with it, but it's important to understand some of the motivations behind it and what you have to gain. I would assume that the leagues or the teams in that league feel that they're falling further behind the Western Hockey League, right? In terms of recruiting players and all the rest. So you team up to try and have some sort of way to compete, like it or don't like it. Those are some pretty good reasons.
And again, I said to Darren before the show, I'm too old to go diving into lockers. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like I had a parent of a kid who plays on another team in the AJ say they've kicked those 5 teams out effective immediately. They're gone. I reported that because that's what I heard from a trusted source of mine, a friend, and the AJ comes out on Monday and says nobody's been kicked out. So I don't know. This is what I'm hearing. I don't know what to say anymore. And as my mentor said to me on the phone this morning, he goes, well, it's true they haven't made a decision yet whether they're going to kick them out. He goes, my guess is they probably will. But they did announce we're going to talk about this before any decision's made. And he goes, and that's where I believe they are at in this process. So again, passing along what I hear, but I have no idea what the hell's going on. We'll continue this when we come back. Lots to get to today. By the way, Brian Wiebe will be with us from the BC Hockey Network. Colin Patterson and David Murdoch from Curling Canada. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Yeah, it's quite a day. This is exactly what we want. This is everybody coming to talk, daytime sports talk. It's exactly what I want, so thank you. And let's bring in the Moose. We got some good stuff here. Moose is in the chicken capital, and that is Wynyard, Sask. Michael is watching in Maple Ridge, BC, writes in on the text line 902-518-3033. For Darren, my grandparents had a similar dresser that is behind you with the panther on it. The one with the dark brown trim, curly hair brings back good memories.
That's awesome. That's pretty awesome. That Panther, Florida guy, I brought him out. He's been sitting here forever. It was one of those raffle draws at a minor hockey tournament back in like 96 or 7 when the Panthers came into the league. And that stuffed bear has been here. He lost his skates, but he's got his helmet on, so he's hanging out.
Speaking of all of that, we do our Cats and Bolts podcast, which Serena is going to lose her mind on, by the way. Oh, a remarkably new podcast has just sprung up in the middle of the NHL season. It's called Cats and Rats. Spelt exactly like ours, but with rats.
Come on.
Yeah, there's a lot. Watch her go insane on our Panthers show this week when it airs. She is still mad. Darcy in Grand Prairie writes in regarding Darren's last posting. He says, Tisdale Sask's slogan used to be the land of rape and honey. Rape seed, just for those that don't know. He goes, true story. Go Jays. And he says, Mike Palmateer was my first favorite goalie. That's why I brought it up, y'all. I worked out with his daughter this morning, Tess. It was fun. At Johnny O's. It's a great day, Rod. They all are, Johnny. Patrolman Pete is watching in Winnipeg, writes in and says, we need more Junior A upheaval analysis. I know you'd like that, but we got to move on. We gave you a lot of time on it. We got to move on. To very interesting texts like this, like Fake Gainer writes in, regarding all-star games, hey, if the Golden Girls were alive, which one would you want to be the celebrity head coach of your all-star team? Honestly, I think Blanche would get the most out of her team. Number one, I wouldn't let Blanche anywhere near my team. No. And it's going to be Dorothy. She don't screw around. She would just give you that look. Like if you turned it over in your own zone, if you dished a strawberry Danish right up the middle and, outlet pass in yours, she would just, you wouldn't play again. But that's just me. Which Golden Girl would you have coach your all-star team?
I don't know. Give me any one of them. It would be entertaining. If the all-star game was in Florida 25 years ago, we might have been able to do it.
Johnny O was on a cruise with Sophia. I'll get him to tell the story. By the way, folks, Kinsman Telemiracle is another way to support Telemiracle and also have the chance to win half the jackpot. It's truly a win-win for Saskatchewan residents. Get your tickets now at telemiracle5050.com. From the NBA, Jaren Jackson Jr. scored 16 of his 27 points in the first quarter. Luke Kennard added a season-high 19. And the visiting Memphis Grizzlies won their fourth straight NBA game north of the border, beating the Toronto Raptors 108-100. And I got to mention this, Joel Embiid scored a franchise record 70 points, the most in the NBA this season, to lead the 76ers to a 133-123 victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Didn't Dr. J play for the Philadelphia 76ers? And this is a record? That's amazing to me. And I'm not going to be the NBA show, obviously, but to sit and watch the Spurs in the squalor that they're in right now is really weird. I've been in that arena in San Antonio, AT&T Arena, whatever the hell they call it, something AT&T. They got all the 5 trophies all lined up together. It's excellence. It's everything that you want. And now they couldn't beat a bunch of 10-year-olds. There is breaking news from the CFL, some interesting stuff from the Canadian Football League, and we are Canada's daytime sports talk show, so let's get into it. Number one, they're changing the name of the football stadium in Winnipeg. I'm sure you've heard that. Since its opening in 2013, it's been called Investors Group Field, then shortened to IG Field, which, by the way, they're my money guys, Investors Group. That's not going to change, even though they're not putting their name on the stadium anymore. But it's now going to be called Princess Auto Stadium. If that doesn't scare the hell out of you coming in there as the visitor, what would? Princess Auto Stadium. We now have, they've taken over from Tim Hortons Field as the more strange name for a facility in Canada. So your thoughts on Princess Auto Stadium?
I like it, actually. To me, it sounds like it should be the home of some bowl game in the U.S. at Christmas time. They're playing at Princess Auto Stadium, the Peach Bowl or whatever. at Princess Auto Stadium. You know, I think it's good. I think it's big league. I think it sounds good. And everybody knows Princess Auto. That's such a, you know, Canadian staple. So congratulations for locking down another 10-year deal.
Oh, yeah, good for them. I mean, there's... we're in an era of anything goes. And I make jokes about Tim Hortons Field or Princess Auto. Whatever, whoever will pay you the money. You know?
Yeah.
We get the guff from our audience about, you know, betting companies sponsoring the show. Who cares? I literally don't care if you have a problem with it. Just like here the Marlins play in Lone Depot Park and whatever. There's nothing saying that you have to have a phone company sponsor you, like the Bell Center or Rogers Center. Whoever will write the biggest check. Another from Rhonda in Swift Current, Serena's former teammate on the ball field. She says, Sophia, she'd make great locker room pep talks. Picture it. Sicily, 1924. Yeah, so, well, she would be my second choice, but it's Dorothy. Because I just feel like you would not want to piss Dorothy off as the head coach of your all-star team. Alan in Saskatoon says, I love the name. Oh, my God, I can hardly wait for Banjo Bowl in the princess's house. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, boy, here we go. You know the Rider fans wouldn't wait long. Jason in Red Deer says, I'm glad the Stampeders haven't commercialized McMahon Stadium yet. Jason, nobody wants it. But speaking of, there is news out of there today. John Huffnagel stepping down as president of the Calgary Stampeders and taking over as Jay McNeil, formerly the VP of Business of the Calgary Stampeders. So that's the other CFL news today. It's somewhat earth-shaking, but I don't really, again, what did I say? I'm too old to go diving into lockers. I don't understand this gobbledygook stuff. The last couple of years I've been very close, and Darren's been with me for some of it, with the CFL. I've been going to the games. I went to the Combine. Huff is everywhere. Nothing's changed. Even though he stepped back as head coach, that he stepped back as GM, whatever, he's still wearing his gray tracksuit and walking around with a freaking pen in his mouth. Like, whatever. Nothing's changed. I still don't think anything's changed until Huff leaves Calgary, which I'm not saying he should. I love John Huffnagel. He's a great guy. He's an icon, and put him in the Hall of Fame now. But they're saying he's got an advisory role. He's still going to be there. So I don't really see how this is huge news other than them just reshuffling the chairs in Calgary with the Stampeders. That's all. Still all the same guys. What do you think?
Yeah. A guy who's been around a long time and had a ton of success and is synonymous with that organization, it's hard to leave, I can imagine, you know? So you slowly start, you know, getting a lesser role and a lesser role and a lesser role and a lesser role until there's not another role to take, and eventually you retire. Be hard, you know, hard to retire, hard to let go. You always want to be attached, always want to be involved. Like, you know, you don't want to do the day-to-day. You don't want to do the 12 to 14-hour grind anymore. But you still want to be able to have your fingerprints on it. And I don't think until, as you say, he's living somewhere else and he's gone and he's not around, he'll still have his fingerprints on this somewhere.
Well, Jeff, the Stamps fan, you knew that he would be all over this. And he says, to take over as an advisor, please tell the entire story. Well, I was getting to it if you would just back off. And I'm reading from the tweet from Danny Austin, who was there from the Calgary Sun and Calgary Herald. And that's my point. As long as Huff is there, I expect he will have some input with the organization, is all that I'm saying. Pete Carroll's sticking around in Seattle. I mean, what are they going to do? These guys aren't going out to get coffee in the morning for their replacements. I fully expect, I'm sorry, but they need to be told, go home. I'm not saying Huff does, but we went through this with Ken Miller in Saskatchewan in 2011. He was kept on as an advisor, and we brought in Greg Marshall, and it was a disaster. And I love both guys. It's a true story. You can ask anybody. Greg Marshall would put the game plan in each guy's locker, And then Kenny Miller would come along, staple Kenny's notes to the top of those game plans. What are you doing? That happened. So, anyways, Jeff the Stamps fan says, things have changed, Rod. Huff's role is less and less. I'm sure that's all true. But again, I've seen it with my own eyes. Until you just go away, nothing changes. Is Brian Wiebe in next, Clark? Or Colin Patterson? Okay, he's ready to go? All right, I can't wait to talk to this guy. All right, Moose. I guess I'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
All right, David Murdoch from Curling Canada will be with us later on, and Brian Wiebe from the BC Hockey Network talking about #Wexit. 5 Alberta teams leaving to join the BCHL. Colin Patterson joins us next to talk some NHL hockey. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Hello, hockey fans. Welcome back to another SJHL report. I'm Darren DuPont. Wild weekend in the league, meaning lots of excitement. Let's go to the scores from the weekend. Weyburn and Kindersley had a home-and-home. The Wings got the first one on Friday night. On Saturday, Kindersley got a little bit of revenge, winning in a shootout. Flin Flon edging Yorkton, but the Terriers taking the top team to a shootout. And on Sunday, Notre Dame, big win over Kindersley, 6-2. So here's the standings. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams all within 1 point there, from 5 through 9, from Melville to Estevan, Kindersley, Weyburn, and Nipawin, all in a log jam. So big games to watch here this week. On Wednesday, Melville is at Kindersley, 2 teams in that tiebreaker. On Friday, Humboldt at Estevan. And on Saturday, Flin Flon will visit the Battlefords, top 2 teams in the league. Enjoy the games.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hi, everybody. When we talk hockey, particularly Alberta teams, is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing, a commitment to connection and celebration of uniqueness. Visit commoncrown.ca. Or better yet, do like our next guest does. Just head on down to the brewery and brew it yourself. Colin Patterson joins us, Stanley Cup champion, Sabres Flames alum. I really miss this guy. How you doing, Patter?
Excellent, Rod. How are you?
Good, good, good. Do they not have like a Colin Patterson brew? Can you hear us? You got me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Perfect, man. Yeah, I got
betcha.
you.
Yeah, they don't have one yet. Yeah, they couldn't just make one can of it. So, yeah, they don't have that beer yet.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. I was going to say I'd drink it, but wait a minute. No, I wouldn't. No offense. You understand, Patter. Hey, you. I got a lot to get to with you. I got a lot to get to with you. I saw that you were just down south with the Flames on the, were they calling it the Mentors trip? It looked like a hell of a time. That everybody else calls it a dad's trip. The Flames called it a Mentors trip. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the dad's trip was great. Lots of fun. You know, obviously the majority of guys brought their dads. Some of the dads couldn't make it. So Jordan Osterley brought his grandfather. We had a couple of guys. Markstrom brought his brother Tim, and then who else? DeSimone brought his brother Phil. But a great time. Lots of fun, and it's really interesting to see the dads. You know, you're expecting them to talk about their kids, but they don't. They're talking about the game. They're asking Lanny and I a bunch of questions and listen to our stories, which I'm sure put them to sleep at night. But it was really fun. And they're the same as any dads at any team. When their kids are getting ready when the boys are getting ready to go to the games, they're telling them, work hard, do everything you can, make sure you're giving it out every shift and sign every autograph.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mentors is the proper word then. But you had some pretty good games, too. Talk about that.
Yeah, we had great games. They played in Phoenix, which was really neat, playing in that Mullet Arena. Now, the Mullet family was a big supporter of Sun Devils hockey. It's not like the mullet hairstyle. So that'll hopefully clarify that for some people, especially from Winnipeg, who can now get rid of the hairdo. But after the Princess Auto naming of the stadium, that's good news. Because in Winnipeg, when we played, it was a Winnipeg Arena, the Winnipeg Stadium, by the Winnipeg Velodrome, near the Winnipeg Mall, which was pretty close to Winnipeg Bowling Alley. So it's good somebody stepped up to name some stuff there. But the Mullet Arena was great. It was, 5,000 seats, and, there's not a bad seat in the house, and it's a really well-designed rink. It's not like the old Corral where it's an old rink. It's new. It's for university hockey, so it's top notch, and it was really good. It's really neat to see it. With about 3 minutes left, we decided we'll go down and meet the team on their way in, coming off the ice, because it was pretty apparent they were going to win. So in 3 minutes, there wasn't a whistle in those final 3 minutes, and we were able to make it down and get lined up to celebrate the guys coming in. So that was fantastic. Vegas, it's a pretty neat spot, as people well know. It's not a secret anymore. But that rink is a lot of fun. They put a lot of energy into that rink. Just the showmanship of the game itself was fantastic. And, the fact that the Flames won was pretty interesting, was great. It made the trip, that much better. But it was interesting because with about 9 minutes left, we're going, should we make our way down? And we said, it was 3-0 at that point. Then they, Vegas scored. We said, well, maybe we better wait. Don't want to put a jinx on anybody. But when we did leave, it took us like about 20 minutes to get down to the dressing room. The guys were already dressed by the time we got down there. One small, misstep on the elevator, and, you're down a couple of levels. So it was a great time. The team treated us royally, and it was very, very neat. It's great to see. I'm going to ramble on for a minute, but it's great to see the dads get a look at the inside of what goes on on a road trip. It's not just fun and games. There's the seriousness of you got to win. and the preparation that goes into it. We were able to sit in on, the regular meeting, the power play meeting, the penalty killing meeting, which is very interesting. And it's, amazing the technology they have now to line everything up. They're not putting VHS tapes in like they did in the old days, or just, drawing it on the board. They've got everything going, and it's well done. And, the guys do a lot of homework on it, the coaches.
Kudos to them for doing that, and Husk for allowing them to be part of it. I don't feel like every team does that. Or do you know if they do?
I think a lot of teams do, but I don't think it's as open as what Husk makes it. And, it's when you can sit in one of those meetings, it's very interesting, and you feel very lucky and fortunate. I think all the dads did. All the dads were sitting there watching and taking notes in. And when we got upstairs, for the game, the guy said, "Yeah, I remember seeing that on the video of what that other team's doing, whether it was Phoenix or Vegas."
I saw, you tell me about this, a video, it must have been the Flames video of the fans greeting the bus after the game. Lanny. What was that all about? You guys are going crazy.
Yeah, it was great. That was after the Vegas game. And there's a group of people there. Obviously a lot of people from Calgary go down to Vegas to watch the game, but there's also a bunch of fans from all over that, want to go to Vegas who are Flames fans. So there's a big group, cheering and chanting the guys as they came out, keep going to the bus. So it was really neat. And in Phoenix, I would say that probably 40 to 50% of the fans there were Flames fans. I had some friends there, and I said, "Oh, I'll see you for sure. You'll be standing out, with a red jersey on." Well, there was a lot of red jerseys, so it was really good. And when the Flames scored, it was quite a roar.
Well, like I say, they won, so you had a great time. That always helps when you're hosting these trips. But it's whetted the Flames fans' appetite, obviously. I just wonder what you're not just alum, you're a fan. What's your expectation
Absolutely.
of this team, Patter? What do you see ahead?
Well, I think they're in a tight race right now. There's a lot of teams clumped in that for those wild card spots. I know the Flames have some decisions to make about the unrestricted free agents, whether you can sign them or whether you're going to have to trade them. So that will be something that will happen and play out. But I think what we've all been impressed with is the play of the young players and giving them a chance. And when you're a young player and you get a chance to play, you one realize, hey, this is a great opportunity. But two, if you don't make it and you get sent back, get sent down again, you understand what it takes to play at that next level. Sometimes you can be a great player at the AHL level, but you just can't make that step and assume that role in the NHL of what you were playing. Maybe you have to play a different role. So you've got to figure that out. You've got to figure out, hey, maybe I'm a goal scorer in the AHL, but when I come up to the NHL, I might be a third, fourth line guy, and I got to be a productive third and fourth line guy. I can't be a liability. So it's figuring out all those things that I think is really positive for the Flames. I think, last year we just didn't see that. Last few years we didn't see the guys coming up and down, which that was the whole aspect of having your team, your farm team right in the same building, is you get an opportunity to move these guys up and down, which I think they've done a great job this year. And we've seen some great surprises. Pospisil, Zari, the list goes on of the guys that have come up that have played very well that you go, hey, I see a strong future and strong potential in these players.
I got to ask you this. I assume you follow the Sabres really closely. The only other Sabres alum I chat with is Barney, and he's a little biased against the Sabres for his own reasons. But we can all agree they're a disappointment. We didn't, I don't think, see this coming. What's your take on the Buffalo Sabres this year?
Well, I think a couple of guys had career years last year, and sometimes it's tough to follow up those career years, and especially if you get a little bit of injury involved. But yeah, I'm with Barney on that. We're both former Sabres, and you want to see them doing better, but it's just not clicking for them. And sometimes when it doesn't, there are things that happen a way that maybe we're not aware of. But I would say that. When you look at Thompson and his injury, I think that's a big factor in it. And the year he had last year was spectacular.
Well, I hope that they pull it out. They do, because I thought they were going in the right direction under Kevin Adams. But I will bid you adieu. I'll say, as Don Cherry said, the most underrated player in the National Hockey League, Colin Patterson. Patter, all the best in 2024 getting into the playoffs, and we'll see you when we see you. I know for a fact I'll see you this spring or summer.
You betcha. And try and stay warm, Rod. I know it's tough down there, but yeah.
I had to put socks on yesterday, Patter. Pray for me.
Oh, my gosh. What a day. What a day that was.
Colin Patterson, Flames and Sabres alum, and also a chair or a board member of the Breaking Free Foundation, the nonprofit organization which provides free counseling for trauma victims. We'll be right back with Viewer Takeover after this. We're live from South Florida on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Yeah, it's sports update time and audience takeover time. So get your comments in now. Now's the time. 902-518-3033. For Sober Carpenter, they bring you the text line. And also, if you're watching on streaming, you can write in there as well. I got to paraphrase because it hasn't hit the actual news wire yet, but there are two items from the Canadian Football League today. John Hufnagel stepping down as president of the Calgary Stampeders, a role he's held since 2016. Former Stampeders lineman Jay McNeil, who had been their VP of business, is taking over as team president. And in Winnipeg, the home stadium of the Blue Bombers will now be referred to as Princess Auto Stadium. And their rivals are already having fun with it. Now, from the National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles have fired offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. A person familiar with the decision told the Associated Press today. Johnson joins ousted defensive coordinator Sean Desai as head coach Nick Sirianni continues his reshaping of his staff following a season-ending collapse. The Eagles went from starting 10-1 to finishing 11-6 and losing 32-9 to Tampa Bay in the wild card round. So I really apologize. The guy wrote in here from Franklin Square, New York, a week or two ago. I guess it was just last week. And he said, does Nick Sirianni survive this implosion? And I thought, well, he shouldn't. But this is how it works in football. Somebody said that they're not as knee-jerk in football as they are in hockey with firing coaches. Yes, they are. Somebody watching this show said, oh, they're a little more stable in football. No, they're not. Sirianni probably should have been fired, but he shoved somebody else in front of the bullet. Actually, a couple of guys, his coordinators. You see it happen all the time. And you're supposed to get used to it and not take it personal. That's my advice to those two gentlemen. There are 5 games in the NBA tonight, but the Toronto Raptors have the day off following Monday night's 108-100 defeat at home to the injury-riddled Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. led the Grizz with 27 points. R.J. Barrett of Mississauga, Ontario, led the Raptors with 29 points. Raps have lost 3 in a row, but we don't expect much from them. Sports updates brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In theaters now, Mean Girls. From the comedic mind of Tina Fey comes a new twist on the modern classic. Mean Girls is in theaters now. Sounded like a train just went by the road back here. There's not a train track back here. So somebody's car horn sounds like a train horn. That should be illegal. 902-518-3033. Let's see what we got here. David in Winnipeg writes in. And he's got a few things. He says, number one, with regards to McMahon Stadium. He says, McMahon Stadium, slap a bow on a pig and it's still a pig. Harsh. David goes on to say the Jets' loss in Boston last night proves even a great system and good players suffer a breakdown every once in a while. No panic button in sight. If the Jets play the same way in the upcoming games versus the Leafs, a coaching change may be coming in Toronto. Say what? Oh, yeah. If the Jets play the same way in the upcoming games against the Leafs, a coaching change may be coming in Toronto. It's interesting that Craig Button was calling for that. Our good friend Craig Button. I don't think he's Sheldon Keefe's good friend these days, saying he should be fired as the head coach of the Leafs. But, again, back to that firing of coaches thing. Does it not seem like they are a lot more quick to fire now than they've ever been? We'll kick all of that around. Next hour, Moose will rejoin Brian Wiebe of BC Hockey and David Murdoch of Curling Canada after this brief pause on Game Plus and Key Radio.
They're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
No.
Can't remember my roommate's name, but we couldn't get into our room, and 2 exotic dancers came down the hallway and said, "Here you go, let us give you a hand with that."
How about that?
I was 16. It was like, whoa. Mandy in Edmonton has checked in, by the way. She says, flashback. I did find glitter around an ex's house all the way into the bedroom. Now you know. No charge.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick Regan. Welcome. Get on up inside your favorite daytime sports talk show on Canadian television out of Toronto, Game Plus TV, but airing in 31 states. And on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE. I'm still patiently waiting for Atlanta to be named the 33rd market of the National Hockey League. And boy, won't life be grand. Let's bring the Moose in now. The breaking news that's happened. Hey, Moose, he is in the chicken capital of Wynyard. I'm trying to remember. We were on a tour of the Florida Keys, a southern tour. And our guide was guy's name. I'd have to ask Serena exactly how it went. It was a few years ago now. Stevie. And I said, "Where are you from, Stevie?" And as I get older and I got these dang things plugged in my ears, my hearing's starting to go. I don't mind saying it. It gets me out of a lot of things, too. When I didn't hear you. But where are you from, Stevie? And I thought he said the chicken capital. is it either Wynyard or, which is where Darren is. He's in Wynyard, the chicken capital. I turned to Serena. We were on jet skis, and I said, did he just say the chicken capital? Wynyard? She goes, he said Brooklyn. New York. Oh, New York. Yeah. I'm like, what did he say?
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, that happened.
Unreal.
So, but that's where Darren is. He's in Wynyard, the chicken capital right now. And here's the breaking news that's gone on so far. John Huffnagel stepping down as president of the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League, replaced by Jay McNeil. We didn't get to this earlier, but we will, from the National Lacrosse League. We have many teams in the NLL across Canada, several more in the United States. You wouldn't know about it in terms of media coverage, but General Manager Derek Keenan announcing today that the Saskatchewan Rush have relieved Bruce Alexander of his coaching duties. Moving forward, Derek Keenan will take over duties as co-head coach alongside Jimmy Quinlan. I'll be honest, I don't care who it pisses off. I thought it was a very confusingly written news release. Darren and I had to put our heads together here and figure, what the hell? They just named 3 names and somebody got fired? And you said he was the offensive coordinator. Is that a thing in lacrosse? It's like a football?
Yeah.
You have a head coach and an offensive and defensive coaches. They made it sound like he was the head coach, but no, he was an assistant coach, and they fired him. Do I have that right?
You have that right. We had to do a little digging into subsequent releases from the offseason to find out that he was named the offensive coordinator in the offseason. And so Jimmy Quinlan's good. But when they say they're making a coaching change, I'm like, did I miss the part where Jimmy Quinlan got fired? Until I read the end of the news release that said he's there as a head coach. Okay. And I'm like, maybe he's back. So...
yeah, so that's the breaking news. And in Winnipeg, the home of the Blue Bombers football team has been renamed Princess Auto Stadium. We talked about the NHL leftovers. There were quite a few games last night, but the highlights for us were the Vancouver Canucks shutting out Chicago 2-0, the Winnipeg Jets losing in Boston 4-1, and head coach Rick Bowness said afterwards, you're never happy when you lose, but to paraphrase, I believe he said it was our worst game in a while. Our passes weren't as hard as normal. And you notice those things as a head coach. The fans don't normally notice those things. The team hadn't given up more than 3 goals for 12 straight, or was it 14 straight? Whatever. It was a really long streak. And what happens is bad habits do creep in unless there's a coach like Rick Bowness and a good one on top of them. He's the kind of guy that would notice that the passes aren't as crisp as normal. They're mailing it in. You can't do that against a team like Boston. As a matter of fact, they were, they weren't tested by teams in the long homestand in Winnipeg like they were last night at Boston. And now they got the Leafs twice, so this should be a huge week. From a Leafs perspective, and did I mention we worked out with Mike Palmateer's daughter this morning? I mentioned that an hour ago. How are you feeling about this home-and-home Leafs and Jets this week from a Leafs perspective?
It's a big home-and-home because you're playing against maybe the best team in Canada or one of the best 3 teams in Canada anyways, between Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Edmonton. And you're a team that hasn't been very consistent lately. And you can't follow up wins with wins. It's tough. So, yeah, on the Leafs side, I think they're pretty nervous because... you can have an off game against a team that's below you in the standings and you don't think anything of it. But when you get here, this is let's call it a mini playoff series. This is a real litmus test. And so Leaf fans are sitting there being like, okay, now we can measure ourselves. If we can get up for the big games and win 2 big games, we're going to feel pretty good. But if we soil ourselves and Winnipeg runs our show, we're going to start thinking that, okay, we don't have much of a chance this year.
Yeah, well, the pressure's on that much. Thanks for the update. Thanks for the analysis. Bill Edwards is watching in the Queen City and says, Rod, do you know if there has been approval for a new rink in Calgary? And if so, where will it be going? There has been. The Premier, Danielle Smith, pretty much won the election on that platform. This is my understanding. It's a go, and it's supposed to be going directly north of where the Saddledome is now. And I guess you were just there, Bill, last week to watch the Flames and Leafs and the Hitmen and Blades. So just envision it. It's all parking area right now just north of the Saddledome. We're going to put it right there. But if you were just there and they haven't broken ground yet, Don't hold me responsible. By the way, a couple things I wanted to get into, because we are Canada's daytime sports talk show. We are the View for sports fans, or as some might say, the Social. I just realized the other day they're still on the air. Good for them. But we're in season 5. What season are they in? 27? They've been around a long time. But they talk about issues like this. Corey Perry, when he was introduced, and by the way, when do we have Brian Wiebe coming up? Is he next segment, Clark? Yeah, next segment. Brian Wiebe from the BC Hockey Network to talk about Wexit and the 5 teams leaving Alberta Junior to go to the BC League, and then David Murdoch from Curling Canada after that. So we got to get into our NHL breakaway bets here in a second. But Corey Perry, it was only 2 months ago that the spit hit the fan in Chicago, right? And he was terminated by the Blackhawks for unacceptable behavior. 2 months later, he's signed by the Edmonton Oilers, and he's sitting at a table, and I'm all for all of this. And him saying, if you need help, go find it and treat yourself. Which, by the way, it's not really manis and petties and bubble baths, but when you say treat yourself, but you got the point. And he said, I can stand here and look in the mirror and feel good about myself. And I was like, wow, good for you, man. So there's that. And on the very same day, Dylan Dubé of the Calgary Flames, it's announced by the Flames that he's taking a leave of absence to deal with his mental health. And I don't know if you saw the fans' reaction to that. Like an idiot, I went in and read some of the responses, and they're like, why would you say that it's a mental health matter? Why you're disrespecting his privacy? This is to the Flames. Their own fans were saying, why would you point that out? And my thinking is, well, if we didn't tell you, you rubes would be up our ass until we told you. So this is what it is. Now, there's some legalities. Listen, this is the world that I live in, the recovery world, around players going into the substance abuse program, the player assistance program, which they didn't specifically say that's what he was doing. But it's all about wording and legal jargon and all the rest. I don't personally have a problem with the way they announced it, but I wonder if you do or our audience.
No, I never do in these situations, especially when it's something personal and a player, dealing with things. We can't even begin to understand what they're going through as professional athletes. And all we want to say, wipe your tears with your $1,000 bills and your millions of dollars. We don't understand what that's like either, So this is a situation for me when these things come up and a player is taking a leave of absence for a personal matter. I'm thinking, okay, I don't really care what it is. If that's what you need, take all the time you need, and hope you get better and come back as a stronger person and player.
Allie's watching in Texarkana, and she says, I thought that was very brave of him. It was for Corey to say. I only read the quote. I didn't see him say it. But it seemed like he said it just as flippantly as, hey, I went for a walk around the park. Hey, I addressed my mental health, and I feel great now. And that's the way that it should be. So, yeah, I went down the mental health road here, so that's part of why I think I have this platform to do it. And one thing I realized, was invited to go for lunch one day by a psychologist, and we were talking about stress, which I did. At that time, I did not have a certification in stress management. And she said, well, Rod, you deal, I think she goes, I deal with firefighters, I deal with lawyers, I deal with this. I said, oh, I just deal with athletes. Like it was no big deal. And she was like, well, stress is stress. And she goes, the stress that's felt by that pitcher in the bottom of the ninth in front of 40,000 people on national TV is no different than the stress of a firefighter running into a burning building, carrying out a child. Stress is stress. And it's also relative. So whether you're making $10 million a year or $1 a year, it's a big deal to you. You know what I mean? These were all things that I learned. And it's 1:11 Eastern. I'm just throwing that out there right now. And you're right. We all think these guys are making cajillions of dollars. More money, literally, than they can spend. Literally. But who was it that sang "Mo money, mo problems"? Who sang that? I don't know, but the guy knew what he was talking about. Not that you? Who sang?
No, I don't remember off the top of my head if that was More Money, More Problems. It's one rapper. I don't know who it was, but it was. You're going to Google
Clark.
it.
Clark had it. Clark is the rapper in the house. He is the rapper aficionado. The Notorious B.I.G. There you go. Thanks, Clark. A fountain of useful information. Notorious B.I.G. saying, mo money, mo problems. Anyways, it's a sports show. And that's another thing. We are going to get into Wexit next segment with Brian Wiebe to talk. Because it's a huge deal, by the way. If you don't think 5 teams leaving the Alberta Junior Hockey League to go to BC is a huge deal, then go away, because it's a huge deal. It's like college football teams leaving conferences for more money, more opportunity, better recruiting chances. It's the same thing. So I guess my point, people wanted more analysis last hour. I'm like, we'll get to it. I like the way that we just ding, 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 ding. What did that one guy say? ADD? Thank you. I'll take that. Because this morning, when I was on the treadmill, I was watching the ESPN radio this morning. Same 3 people. And by the way, they're really good. That's why I listen to them every day. But Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman still talking about Josh Allen and why he can't win the big game. I'm like, really? Can we please move on? You talked about it for 3 hours yesterday. I don't want to be that show. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that show. Just sit there in the swamp and talk about the same crap all the time. That is never going to be us. The day that it is, I'm hanging it up. Breakaway bets. I'm interested in what you think is the game of the night. I think most people would say it's Columbus at Edmonton. Would you?
No. I mean, because of the streak.
How about that?
But I think we're expecting Columbus, or Edmonton to win that game.
To lose?
I'm looking at the games right now, too. Flames and Blues, maybe. I think the Islanders and Golden Knights. What did the coach in Vegas call it? A beer league game the other night? And Patrick Waukee won his opener. I'm curious to see what happens there.
Okay, hang on. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Joe Lazito is watching in New York. Number one, he said the Islanders fans, not him, but the Islanders fans called Lane Lambert lame Lambert. And Joe also wrote in and said Will Arnett is from Lego Batman. Even still, bro, no clue. Right over my head. So forget about the games of the night. We're going to pick them all. The winners. Ottawa at Montreal. Who wins?
I'll take Montreal.
I'll take Ottawa. Dallas at the Detroit Red Wings.
Dallas. Jake Ottinger is expected to start. I'll take the start.
Okay, I'm going to take Detroit. That's easy. This is going fun.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay at Philadelphia. That's a real
I'll take Philly.
slobber knocker. I will too. Vegas at the Islanders.
I'm going to take the Islanders.
Perfect, because I'm taking Vegas. Washington at Minnesota.
I'll take the Caps.
Me too. St. Louis at Calgary. I will take the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Flames too.
Okay. Columbus at Edmonton. I'll jump out and I'll say the Oilers.
Yeah. I got to say the Oilers. Yeah. But it'll be somebody
Buffalo,
like
Anaheim.
Columbus or San Jose that'll ruin it.
Buffalo at Anaheim.
Anaheim.
×2. And the New York Rangers at the San Jose Sharks.
New York.
Yeah, me too. Because they lost in L.A., they got to get it going. And Moose, it looks like you're done. Thanks for your contributions. Have a great RP Show day.
You too.
All right. When we come back, we're going to get into Wexit with Brian Wiebe. That's West Exit, for those that don't know. Brian Wiebe from the BC Hockey Network. He's no stranger to this show. It's been too long. I'm very much looking forward to this chat. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey, everybody, it's a beautiful day to be talking sports. And just ahead of our next guest, Brian Wiebe, I want to remind you the Telemiracle 50/50 online raffle is live now. If you're a fan of Saskatchewan, if you're a fan of this show, and if you're a fan of helping people, would you please do me a favor and go right now to telemiracle5050.com and purchase your tickets? All we ask is that you be 18 years of age or over, and you have to be in Saskatchewan to do it. Tickets will be on sale until February 23rd, but don't wait till then, please. Winner, of course, gets half the final jackpot. That's how 50/50s work. All proceeds go to Telemiracle 48. The other half, it's Saskatchewan's charity, as you all know. Visit telemiracle.com to learn how the Kinsman Foundation is helping people every day in our wonderful province to improve their independence and quality of life. All right. Please bring in Brian Wiebe. Brian, there's a lot of people in Sask just sitting, waiting for your words on Wexit. You know what I'm talking about. The 5 teams leaving Alberta Junior Hockey League to go to BC. Dude, what's your take more than anything? And by the way, he's with BC Hockey Network. Blah, blah, blah. We all know that. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, I was shocked when I started to see the rumors on Friday night. And then I think all of that smoke caused the BCHL to attempt to put out the fire in the fact that they announced it on Saturday. And I mean, my initial thought is, I mean, you talked about it a few years ago. It's been rumored for, gosh, I'll be honest, Rod, like 20 years I've been involved in covering the league or in the league itself. I've been involved in, the rumors have always been there, like that there was some sort of super league coming. And although it's not quite that at this point, but grabbing those 5 teams from the Alberta Junior Hockey League, I think what's happened is really my first thoughts were those clubs recognize that the BCHL leaving Hockey Canada and leaving the Canadian Junior Hockey League hasn't been a huge detriment.
I know. And I'm glad that I called a mentor of mine this morning in Junior A to talk about this, because there were a lot of threats when BC Hockey League talked about leaving, and they didn't care. They did it anyways. And I won't say from whom or where, but they did it anyways. Like you just said, they survived, maybe thrived, maybe went to a new level. Yeah. And are those 5 teams saying in Alberta saying, we want part of this? Like, why would they do this now?
I think that's what it is. I think it's like, we know that Hockey Canada has a number of restrictions in place for junior A hockey, and the BCHL wasn't pleased with a lot of those restrictions, and as a result decided to make the move to leave Hockey Canada. And I think that, and I'll be honest, I think a lot of leagues across the country in junior A and B for that matter, we're looking at the success or lack of success, depending on how it went for the BCHL this season, and are potentially thinking to themselves, this might not be all that bad. And so now these 5 teams leaving the Alberta Junior Hockey League and joining the BCHL as expansion clubs don't have those restrictions either. And I think the other piece of the pie here is that BCHL teams at this point, like, there's no January 10th deadline in the BCHL. It's a later deadline. And so as a result, like, they could sign any player from any Alberta Junior Hockey League team right now with zero compensation going back the other way. As an independent league, the BCHL can do that. Just like we've seen it over the years, players leave junior A teams and leagues in Canada and go down to the United States Hockey League or the North American Hockey League in the US. And so I think that's the other thing that these AJHL teams are doing, is they're now protecting themselves, because if those BCHL teams want any of the players that are on their roster, now that they're part of the league, they have to trade for them.
I'm trying to relate this. God bless the American viewers and fans. They're trying to get their head around this. It's complicated, Brian. I believe it is. And it's not a lot different than football schools changing conferences for their own reasons. But I guess one thing Darren talked about last hour, and he's very close to the junior A scene too, is that did the BC Hockey League feel they were falling behind the Western Hockey League and Major Junior in terms of recruiting players? I mean, because this is the thing. I know a lot of coaches that have worked in BC and are now they're across the country, but still in Junior A, and they say money is the reason they're doing it. And I'm still trying to get my head around that. What is it? All of the above, or what?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I mean, I'm not so sure that it's a recruiting battle with the Western Hockey League, because the BCHL published a really extensive white paper a couple years ago that outlines everything. And I've seen a lot of references on social media this week where people are like, why is this happening? And I'm like, well, read the white paper, because it lays it all out. They didn't necessarily look at Major Junior Hockey in Canada as being this horrible thing and stealing their players and all that kind of stuff. They just wanted Hockey Canada to recognize that there's another track, to acknowledge that there are players that have no interest in playing Major Junior Hockey, no interest in being part of the Canadian development model, because their goal is getting an education and going and playing in the United States. And we've seen the number of college players in the National Hockey League that are alumni of the NCAA Division I that really lend it to some credence to that. And so I think what it was is the BCHL just wanted that sort of recognition. and they were fed up with not getting it, and now they want to be the premier track to college hockey in Canada, much like the United States Hockey League is in the US.
When I reported it 3 years ago, the addendum to this was that the BC Hockey League would be a division of the USHL. And I don't know. It was just what I was told. How the hell would I know? And that never did happen. Will it ever?
Yet.
Do you think?
I'm not sure of that. I mean, could we see us? The one thing about the USHL to remember is that it is sanctioned by USA Hockey. And that's the one thing, is that there's a bit of a gray area here, because what international federations are supposed to do is recognize I'm trying to think about the right language here, but essentially USA Hockey is supposed to recognize the fact that the BCHL is a non-sanctioned league and shouldn't permit its players to move to and from or play against or whatever. But what we've seen recently is that there have been BCHL players, international players, that played in the World Junior Championship this year. And technically, again, based on IIHF, acknowledgement of other federations' rules, they shouldn't have, because those players are playing non-sanctioned hockey this season by playing in the BC Hockey League. And so I don't think that we'll see the BCHL be a division of, but I could see there maybe some sort of agreement between the teams that, you get games against, or a tournament or something like that, especially if the BCHL continues to expand east.
I appreciate the explanation, and I feel like now we're getting somewhere for the people that didn't know, and that includes me. You've been on top of this for a long time. But basically, the BC Hockey League, Junior A Hockey League, was upset at Hockey Canada's rules. They broke off on their own, and they actually didn't die. So now Alberta's looking at it going, we'd like a part of this too. And my next point is there are other teams looking at it too. We know that. Okay?
I think league.
Sorry,
I think that's what it is. I was just going to say, I think leagues, I think what we'll see is there will be other leagues in Canada that are at the Junior A level that will break away from Hockey Canada and not be Junior A at all. They'll just be a non-sanctioned junior hockey league.
Yes. And my point on that is I don't expect Hockey Canada to change their rules. In full disclosure, I'm a Hockey Canada guy. I am. I get where their rules came from and why. I do. They're not going to be bullied by Junior A leagues, right? Like this is a standoff is kind of where it's at.
It's absolutely what it is. It's a standoff, like there's no doubt. And I think that these 5 teams leaving the Alberta Junior Hockey League to be expansion teams in the BCHL, because let's make no bones about it, they're expansion clubs in the BCHL, because a Junior A team under Hockey Canada's model can't have lineage in a non-sanctioned league. Sure, they can have the same name and logo and all that kind of stuff. But I think you're absolutely right in the fact that, like, I do think that this is I think the BCHL leaving and thriving, like getting attention from NCAA schools, which isn't Hockey Canada's mandate. I get that. But also the National Hockey League. The Central Scouting rankings come out, and there's still BCHL players, among the top at that level in the draft rankings, and that draws attention as well. So I don't think Hockey Canada will ignore this, but I'm with you. I don't think that it necessarily is going to institute sweeping changes to its regulations. When, let's be honest, we know teams have been working to get around those regulations for years. It's just the BCHL didn't want to try to stick handle, no pun intended, although maybe it is a pun intended, tried to get around that by having, residence changes and stuff like that, which is much more detailed than I'm going to get into and have time with you here today. But that's the thing, is that the BCHL finally just said, you know what, this is enough. Like, we don't want to make families, players go through all this stuff. And I think those 5 teams in Alberta are too. So I'm with you. I don't think Hockey Canada is going to change that. I just think we could end up seeing a higher level of non-sanctioned hockey in Canada.
Well, let me just say this. It was so nice to be able to pick up the phone and call a guy, have him answer it, and know he wasn't going to BS me. And he laid it all out. You get it, right? And the one thing he said was, those 5 teams haven't been kicked out of the AJ yet. He goes, but the day ain't over yet. He goes, they're meeting on it now. He goes, I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but as of yet, they're not. And it was just nice to be able to. And that's what you're doing for us. So, Brian, I appreciate that. And tell our audience, if you don't mind, where they can follow all of this with your coverage.
Thanks very much, Rod. BCHLnetwork.com, BCHLnetwork.ca is where you can check out my team of writers that are working on content about this. The latest article up there is one speculating about what the new divisions might look like in the BCHL come the 24-25 season. And on all your social media handles too, at BCHL Network is where to find the content. And me on social media, especially X, formerly known as Twitter, is at Brian_Wiebe.
Will always be Twitter to me. Brian,
thanks Rod. Me
thanks
too.
for the time. Yeah, happy trails.
You got it. Thanks so much, man.
All right, Brian Wiebe joining us from the wet coast, the other a long ways away from where we are right now. I'll tell you that for free. A sports update before we break, and we bring in David Murdoch. Yes, that David Murdoch. General Manager Derek Keenan announcing today that the Saskatchewan Rush have relieved Bruce Alexander of his coaching duties. They are a league worst 1-4 in the National Lacrosse League. Saskatchewan's back in action February 3rd when Panther City Lacrosse Club is in town. The Edmonton Oilers aim for their 14th consecutive victory tonight as they entertain the Columbus Blue Jackets. Oilers' winning streak of 13 is the longest ever by a Canadian NHL team. The Montreal Canadiens host the Ottawa Senators in an all-Canadian clash at Centre Bell. The two clubs met last Thursday in Ottawa. The Habs won 6-2 there. Later tonight, the Calgary Flames look to snap a two-game slide as they host the St. Louis Blues. Sports updates brought to you by Landmark Cinemas, in theaters now. The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham, Josh Hutcherson, Jeremy Irons, Dan Lee, Minnie Driver, and Felicia Rashad. In The Beekeeper, one man's brutal campaign for vengeance takes on national stakes after he is revealed to be a former operative of a powerful and clandestine organization known as the Beekeepers. From the director of Fury and End of Watch comes The Beekeeper in Landmark Cinemas now, and also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. David Murdoch joins us next from Curling Canada. We're live on the Game Plus TV network across all 10 provinces, 2 territories, and 31 U.S. states. Also live on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, that is a fact. And by the way, everybody, if you haven't heard, which I know you have, you just saw the commercial, I would hope that tickets are on sale now for the Montana's Brier, presented by AGI. It's in Regina's Brand Center. Curling.ca/tickets to get yours. All youth tickets just $9.99. And we're going to talk, for all draws, by the way, we're going to talk curling now. David Murdoch joins us. He is the Director of High Performance for Curling Canada. And I remember when he was hired some time ago. Hi, David. Welcome to the RP Show. I was like, interesting hire. It's been, and obviously a guy that knows his way around the house, if you will. But how's it been? It's been a while now. How's it been in this role as Director of Curling Canada?
Yeah, thanks, Rod. It's been about 10 months now, so it's given me an opportunity to really, really assess the program and figure out, where do we want to take the direction of this program, where our strengths, weaknesses are, and our visions for the future. So it's been, very busy and productive.
Well, I should mention, we're two-time world champion, Olympic silver medalist, too. When I say you know your way around the house, that's a fact. But just tell our audience, by the way, that aren't acquainted, why it was important for you to come to Canada and take this role. It's a pretty nice story.
Well, I'd led the British program for the best part of 5 years, and there was always going to be lots of opportunities there in the UK sports system. But equally, I've always loved coming to Canada. I've been coming over here for the best part of 30 years every year. My wife's Canadian, and I like the challenge. I like what was presented to me, and threw my hat in the ring, and hopefully some of the ideas that I can offer and vision that we can take this program forward. So it was an exciting challenge, but that's where I wanted to head.
David Murdoch, Director, High Performance. So please tell me, what does that entail? What's filling your days, and what are your goals?
Yeah, it encompasses quite a lot. We have our national team program, so that's our men's, women's teams, mixed doubles teams. We have our wheelchair program as well, overseeing the next gen program. So there's an input into just the whole sporting system towards our NSO Curling Canada here. So lots to be involved in. It's busy days dealing with athletes, coaches, stakeholders. So there's lots there to get busy with. So it's exciting. It's a great job.
Well, I was reading a little bit on this when you were hired, and I mean, there's some pressure there too. You're taking over from Jerry Peckham, and I'll be honest, I'm Canadian. I feel like we're the greatest in the world. We may not win all the time, but we're still the greatest. That's my take. And Jerry's a big reason. 33 years in the role, right? Like was there some pressure there, stepping into these shoes?
I think all these jobs are pressure, right? And especially this job, given the success that Canadian curling's had over the past 30, 40 years. But I think we're realizing just how challenging now that's becoming. We're starting to see international teams training full time, putting all the resources maybe into, say, one team, and they're bringing them over here for quite considerable periods of time. So, that's a challenge. That's one that we have to navigate. We still have, the greatest strength and depth in this country, and it's now just looking at how we can probably enhance that and utilize what we have in a more productive manner. Jerry's been such a great resource for me coming into this job, so we still have some good contact, and that's just really helped the transition, so we can get up and running a little bit quicker, and that's exciting to just bounce some ideas around with him even.
I tell you what I love about all this is since we've started this Curling Canada segment, we've had Nolan Thiessen on, the new CEO. We had Shannon Kleibrink on just last week, co-chair of the Scotties, and now yourself. 10 months on the job for you, that would mean this is your first season of champions, as we call it in Canada. Did the juices flow a little bit when the playdowns are happening at the provincial level and then the national championships are right around the corner? How much do you miss it, or how are you feeling about that?
Well, I think now you're into the business end of the season, right? It's almost we have, the summer to train, the tour season that leads up to these events, and this is what it's about. The Brier, the Scotties, it's the national pride, it's the chance to go to the World Championships. There's so much at stake, and certainly for our program, there's high expectations, and the athletes have high expectations too about winning, their dreams and goals and things they want to achieve. But equally, we need to go to World Championships and have success there. We want to be a podium threat at every international event we go to. This year is the start of the Olympic qualification period, so our totals this year, next, and the following season would determine if our country's represented at the Olympic Games. So there's a lot on the line, and that's why we're putting every little bit of effort we can into helping our teams be as successful as possible.
And when you were hired, you said there's work to be done. We'd be naive or arrogant to say there isn't. And none of it not being in the Scotties would be an example of there's work to do there. What are the challenges that you face right now?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is, the country's just, the country's so large. So how do we maximize the daily training environment? That's our biggest challenge. And we've been exploring some ideas there about how we could, utilize our training in different ways, how we could tack that on to some competitions, and also bring the resources that Curling Canada has in terms of national coaches or, analysts to allow them to, train together. Because we do have athletes all over the country. Some teams are even in different parts of the country, so it's not an easy thing to centralize, and that's not an area that we could really look at. So we have to be a little bit more innovative and explore some other options there about how we utilize our training.
What is the state of curling in Canada in your mind?
Yeah, well, it's interesting being over here. There's obviously COVID was tough. The country shut down for long periods of time. That affected, a wide range of our programming, and especially the junior level. I think we saw, just some of the juniors there struggling to come back. But I think what I've been hearing is that's already the trend's starting to come back. We're starting to get some more juniors into our clubs. And, certainly for us, that's something we're really trying to promote and diversify. And how do we bring more people into our sport? So there's a lot of discussions at all levels here, and having Nolan Thiessen coming in, we're certainly, we're looking at where we can go with a lot of these aspects. So high performance is just one piece of the cog, and we need participation to have top athletes. So we're all in this together. So it's a combined effort to make sure that this sport just continues and grows, and that's where we want to take it.
Sure. Well, interviews like this certainly help. Talk helps. And the thing is, anybody that curls loves it. It's got to get more people curling. It's not that hard. Anything else, David, before we let you go?
No, I think it's just we're obviously approaching these championship events. We've got our the Scotties coming up in Winsport next month. We've got our Brian Regina. Ticket sales are going well, but there is still a few tickets out there. So you want to come see some exciting athletes, great atmosphere. Jump online, curling.ca, and grab yourself a ticket. They're going fast.
Outstanding job, David. Thank you. Kudos on the roll. I know it's not new, but I think it's exciting that you have it. And all the best. Hope to see you at the Briar.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the time.
David Murdoch from Curling Canada. He's the director of high performance at Curling Canada. And there is that part of curling that's exciting. It's a little like NASCAR, that if the action on the ice isn't as exciting for you, just like the cars going around the track, there's the drama off the ice. The curling wars. And Brendan Botcher said this, and Hebert said that, and ooh, Kevin Martin said this. That's the comparison that I drew. I know not everybody's like that, but it's exciting to follow as well. We'll be right back with overtime, whatever you'd like to talk about. When we return for Overtime Hockey Lanes, we'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, everybody. Overtime's brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Baseball's got batting cages. Golf has driving ranges. Why wouldn't hockey have shooting lanes? It's exactly what they have. Come on, Calgary. You're a hockey city. What are you waiting for? Go check out Overtime Hockey Lanes. Tell them Rod sent you. They'll give you a good seat there, fully licensed. They got a restaurant in there. Just call ahead. You can get the Rod Pedersen Show lane. Ask for Randy or Michelle. Today, I hope you've had as much fun on this show today as I have. We talked about the things that are near and dear to me. I'll say it again. That Wexit, 5 Alberta teams leaving the Alberta Junior Hockey League to go to BC is big news with the girls I go with. And I think we did get to the bottom of it. It's a standoff here between Junior A hockey leagues and Hockey Canada. Who wins? I'm very glad I'm not in the middle of it, I can tell you that, because there's a lot of pissed off people. Yeah, we talked about a lot of things that I wanted to talk about today, which is great because it's the Rod Pedersen Show. Mental health. David in Winnipeg writes in regarding Corey Perry, saying that he sought mental health support. Now he's great. Let's go. Let's go, Oilers. David in Winnipeg on the 902 line says, even though professional athletes perform and live in the public eye, they deserve privacy when dealing with personal issues, whether they are addiction or mental health related. Healing takes help and time. For sure. But, I mean, the thing happened. The spit hit the fan with Corey Perry. He went and sought help. We all knew he sought help. We all knew that was happening. But then we never thought about him, I don't think, while he was away. And then he reappears with the rumors of who he's going to sign with. And now he's back. He's like, ta-da, which is the way you would hope it would work. And listen, do you see what Corey Perry, maybe it wasn't him that said it, but somebody reported his mental health support team and professionals supported him going back to playing in the NHL this season. And that's what anybody will tell you. Get back on the horse. Get back to your routine. Get back to what you do as soon as possible. Normalize your routine, because sitting around pissing and moaning doesn't help anybody. So none of this surprises me, and I think it's great. And the thing with Dylan Dubé leaving the Flames, for who? I have no clue. Again, swear on my mother's grave what Dylan Dubé is dealing with. People are upset at the Flames for announcing that that's why he left. But it's because of the nosy fans and the annoying media. If they didn't tell them in the news release where he went, you'd all be bitching that they didn't tell you. So I don't have an issue with that either. And it puts him under the gun, frankly, to get serious about it. Corey Perry had to deal with that public humiliation of his unacceptable behavior as termed by the Chicago Blackhawks. He's not denying that. He never did. But it shouldn't be a sentence forever. We talk about the differences, how different leagues deal with these things. Arlen Bruce IV, never going to play pro football because he bet on his own team's games in college. Again, just passing it along. That's a life sentence for him, but not for the other guys. Okay. The other thing, that this is what the audience gravitated to the most. The stadium in Winnipeg, the home of the Blue Bombers, as of today, is called Princess Auto Stadium. You didn't think that would be mocked by their rivals? Of course they did. But Princess Auto also writing a big check. And, well, good, bad, and sublime text messages coming in on this. Jim Wagner, he's a Rider fan from Balgony Sask. He writes in and says, the Princess Otto Banjo Bowl. Very Winnipegish. We got to get a Lynch sound effect. Very Winnipegish. The Princess Otto Banjo Bowl. No judgment here. Winnipeg been very, very good to me. I don't have any problem. I think the Tim Hortons Stadium is a lot more weird than Princess Otto Stadium. Tim Hortons Field. But again, who cares? They don't ever ask me. You don't hear about the Dunkin' Donuts Arena. Not that I've ever heard. Rhonda writes in from Swift Current, and she says, a bit of Canadian trivia for you. My husband tells me that Princess Otto originated in Winnipeg. I didn't know that, so thank you, Rhonda, but that's usually how it goes. Estero, Florida, home of the Florida Everblades hockey team in the East Coast Hockey League. Their arena is called the Hertz Arena, and Estero, Florida, Naples area, the home and birthplace of Hertz Rental Car. How about that?
How about that?
Brant Center, Regina, the home of Brant. See what we did there? I like that. The hometown company made their millions or billions, and now they're giving back. I love it. SaskTel Center, home of the Rush. Rhonda goes on to say, I have found with curling now that everyone has become so good that they rarely miss a shot. So I don't find it as exciting as it used to be when Kevin Martin would call a triple raise takeout and actually make it. Shots like that are being made all the time now. I saw Moose called one a triple knockout, triple takeout in the Provincial Women's Championship. I saw that highlight, Moose. I was paying attention. But that's the point. What do you watch NASCAR for? The wrecks. Can we just admit it? And the drama, and maybe there's going to be a fight. And that's the thing with curling. Maybe they'll miss a shot. Oh, man, all these things flooded into my mind. Maybe I'll save it for the podcast that I do with Serena, which we'll be recording tomorrow, the Cats and Bolts podcast, which somebody here in South Florida ripped off the name and stole and just started a new podcast, the Cats and Rats podcast. She has some thoughts she wants to let out on that. But remember when NHL games were 1-0 and 2-1 and the games were perfectly played? That was boring. So I get what she's saying. And the point I want to bring up is Alex Ovechkin saying him and Sidney Crosby saved the NHL. People were initially up. They're like, what is something? Yeah, they did. That's how I feel. He was right. That's why I don't get why some people can say things and others can't, and you get canceled. Yet this guy says the same thing but doesn't. I just don't get it. Okay, we're done. Hope you had a great time, everybody. I know we sure did. All the hottest sports topics were covered here. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern, Game Plus on Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?